September 12, 1944, 11:03 a.m., Dyrenforth Chemical Weapons Facility, Poland. Private Ernst Weber stood in a rubberized suit, his gloved hands trembling as he held a glass vial no larger than his thumb. The vial contained a clear, odorless liquid. Tabun, Nazi Germany's first mass-produced nerve gas, codenamed Trillium 83 in Wehrmacht documents. A single drop, smaller than a pinhead, could paralyze a man's respiratory system and kill him in 10 minutes. Weber's orders, printed on a crumpled sheet of paper in his pocket, were to transfer 50 milliliters of the liquid into a stainless steel canister for shipment to the Eastern Front. The canisters, marked with a bright yellow band and the word Gefahr, danger, in black stencil, would be loaded onto a train that afternoon, bound for Army Group Center. As Weber leaned over the workbench, his elbow knocked a metal spatula to the concrete floor. He bent to pick it up, his balance shifting. The vial slipped from his fingers. It hit the ground with a sharp crack, splintering into shards. The liquid spread across the floor like water, seeping into the gaps between the concrete slabs. Weber froze. His training had warned him about this. Tabun could penetrate rubber suits through even the smallest seams. Within 3 seconds, his eyes began to burn as if someone had thrown sand into them. His chest tightened, and he felt a sudden, uncontrollable urge to cough. He stumbled toward the exit, his boots slipping on the wet floor, gasping for air that felt thick and heavy. By the time 2 medics in full protective gear reached him, he was on his knees, convulsing, foam frothing at the corner of his mouth. They injected him with atropine, a drug that relaxed muscles, but it was too late. Weber died 12 minutes later, his body still twitching from nerve damage. The tabun had seeped through the wrist seal of his suit, entering his bloodstream through a tiny cut on his forearm. For the 2,500 workers at Dyrenforth, most of them slave laborers from a nearby Gross-Rosen concentration camp, this was the unspoken reality of Hitler's most terrifying secret weapon. A poison so deadly, even its makers feared it more than the enemy. The story of Nazi Germany's nerve gas begins not in a military lab, but in a corporate research facility. In 1936, Gerhard Schrader, a 36-year-old chemist at IG Farben, the giant German chemical conglomerate that would later produce Zyklon B for concentration camp gas chambers, was tasked with developing a new insecticide to protect German crops from beetles. IG Farben had a long history of collaborating with the Wehrmacht, and Schrader's work was funded in part by the Army's Chemical Warfare Service, CWK, which hoped to find compounds that could double as weapons. Schrader's team focused on organophosphates, a class of chemicals that disrupt the nervous systems of insects by inhibiting an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase. This enzyme breaks down acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that controls muscle movement. Without it, muscles spasm uncontrollably until they fail. On December 23, 1936, Schrader synthesized a compound he labeled tabun, from the German tabu, meaning forbidden. He tested on a colony of aphids. Within 30 seconds, all the insects were dead. Intrigued by its potency, he tested it on a rabbit. He placed a drop of tabun on the animal's fur. 60 seconds later, the rabbit collapsed, its legs kicking wildly. Schrader immediately realized he had not found an insecticide. He had found a weapon more deadly than any chemical used in World War I. Mustard gas, the most feared toxin of the Great War, caused painful blisters and took hours or days to kill. Tabun was invisible, odorless, and fatal in minutes. There was no known antidote. Schrader reported his discovery to the CWK's director, General Otto Ambros, in Berlin on January 11, 1937. Ambros, a chemical engineer who would later be convicted of war crimes for his role in Nazi extermination programs, ordered Schrader to keep the discovery secret. He assembled a team of 40 chemists and engineers to refine the Bund, with strict instructions to tell no one, including their families, about their work. The CWK classified the project top secret, Führer eyes only, and Hitler was briefed on it in March 1937. He was reportedly fascinated, calling the Bund a weapon that will break the Allied lines. The first challenge was scaling up production. The Bund is chemically unstable, reacting violently with water or temperatures above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. It corrodes most metals, so containers and pipes had to be made from a special stainless steel alloy called WWII, which IG Farben had developed for the V-2 rocket program. Even trace amount in the air could sicken workers. Exposure to 0.5 milligrams per cubic meter of air causes irritation. 10 milligrams is lethal. To avoid detection by Allied reconnaissance planes, the Wehrmacht chose a remote site for production facility, Dyrenfurth, a town in occupied Poland on the banks of the Oder River, 60 miles from the nearest city. Construction began in 1938, with slave laborers from Gross-Rosen digging foundations and assembling buildings. By 1939, the facility had 12 production buildings, 50 storage bunkers, and a railway line connecting it to the Eastern Front. Working conditions at Dyrenfurth were horrific. Workers were divided into two groups: Free Germans, IG Farben employees and Wehrmacht soldiers, and Ostarbeiter, Eastern workers, Poles, Russians, and Jews from concentration camps. Free Germans wore full protective gear, rubber suits, hoods with face shields, and gas masks with charcoal filters. Ostarbeiter, considered expendable by the SS, were given only thin cotton overalls and cloth masks that offered no protection against the Bund. They were forced to work 12-hour shifts, loading canisters onto trains or cleaning production equipment. Accidents were common. In 1940, a pipe carrying the Bund burst in Building 7, killing 11 Ostarbeiter and sickening 40 more. The SS ordered the bodies burned in the facility's incinerator, and the building was shut down for a week while the spill was cleaned up with chlorine gas. Survivors later reported that the air smelled like rotten apples, a faint, sweet odor that the Bund emits when it breaks down. By 1941, Dyrenfurth was producing 10 tons of the Bund per month, enough to fill 100,000 artillery shells. The Wehrmacht's next step was weaponizing the gas. Chemists mixed the Bund with a stabilizer, diethylamine, to prevent it from decomposing during storage. The mixture was loaded into 150 millimeters artillery shells, 81 millimeters mortar rounds, and 50 kilograms aerial bombs. Each shell was painted bright yellow with a red stripe to warn German troops not to handle them without protection. Testing began that year at the Raubkammer Proving Ground, a secret military site in northeastern Germany. During one test, 50 sheep were locked in a concrete bunker, and a single Bund shell was fired into the room. All 50 sheep died within 5 minutes, their bodies contorted in rigor mortis. The soldiers monitoring the test, who wore the new M1941 gas mask with double-layered rubber seals, reported feeling nauseous for hours afterward. Major Karl Brandt, who oversaw the test, wrote in his report, "This weapon is beyond our worst fears. It kills too quickly to silently. It must be used only as a last resort, for we cannot control it once it is released. If you found this interesting, give a thumbs up to show your support. Drop a wonderful in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Stick around till the end, because I'll reveal 3 mind-blowing facts you won't want to miss. Haven't followed yet? Hit that follow button so you won't miss our next deep dive. Trust me, the best is yet to come. Brandt's warning proved prophetic. On July 20th, 1941, during a training exercise near Minsk, Belarus, a Wehrmacht artillery unit accidentally fired a Tiburon shell instead of a practice round. The shell landed 50 yards from a company of German infantry, who were wearing standard gas masks. The Tiburon seeped through the mask's rubber valves, causing 12 soldiers to collapse. By the time medics arrived, 8 were dead. The other 4 survived but suffered permanent nerve damage, including tremors and difficulty breathing. The incident was covered up. Wehrmacht headquarters issued a statement blaming food poisoning, but word spread among troops. Soldiers began calling Tiburon der Tod ohne Warnung, death without warning, and many refused to handle the shells, even when threatened with execution. The CWK rushed to fix the mass problem. Engineers of the Dresden-based firm Siemens developed a new mask, the M1942, with thicker rubber seals and a filter that absorbed 99% of Tiburon vapor. It weighed 3 pounds, twice as much as the old mask, but it worked. Production began in October 1941, and by early 1942, all frontline troops had been issued the new masks. But the delay had cost the Wehrmacht dearly. Hitler had planned to use Tiburon during Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, which began in June 1941. Without reliable protection for his own troops, he hesitated. By the time the M1942 mass arrived, the Red Army had halted the German advance outside Moscow. The moment to use Tiburon had passed. While Tiburon production continued, IG Farben chemists searched for an even more potent nerve gas. In April 1940, Schrader's team synthesized a compound they named sarin, an acronym for its creators, Schrader, Ambrose, Rudiger, and van der Linde. Sarin is 10 times more toxic than Tiburon. A drop on the skin can kill a man in 5 minutes, and inhaling a tiny amount is fatal. It is also more stable, remaining effective for up to 6 months in storage. Tiburon degrades after 3 months. The Wehrmacht ordered sarin into production, and a second facility was built at Falkenhagen, Germany, 40 miles from Berlin. Falkenhagen was smaller than Dyrenfurth, with only 5 production buildings, but it was more advanced. It used automated systems to mix chemicals, reducing the need for human workers. By 1943, it was producing 5 tons of sarin per month, loaded into small spray canisters that could be fired from aircraft or deployed by infantry. But sarin presented new challenges. It is even more corrosive than Tiburon, requiring containers made from titanium, a rare metal that Germany struggled to source during the war. The automated systems at Falkenhagen frequently broke down, and in 1943, a leak in the mixing chamber killed 6 German engineers. The CWK also discovered that sarin could be neutralized by bleach, which the Soviets had begun issuing to troops as a standard field supply. This meant sarin would be ineffective if the enemy was prepared. By 1944, Falkenhagen had produced only 500 tons of sarin, far less than the 12,000 tons of Tiburon stockpiled at Dyrenfurth. The soldiers tasked with guarding the nerve gas stockpiles lived in constant fear. At Dyrenfurth, The storage bunkers were buried 20 feet underground, surrounded by minefields and guard towers. The SS guards, who had no special training in chemical weapons, were ordered to shoot anyone, German or Allied, who approached within 100 yards of the bunkers. In 1943, a guard shot and killed a German farmer who wandered too close while chasing a stray cow. The farmer's body was buried in an unmarked grave, and the guard was awarded an Iron Cross for protecting a vital military asset. The guards also feared accidental detonation. A single bomb from an Allied plane could trigger a chain reaction that would kill everyone within 10 miles. One guard, Corporal Heinz Muller, wrote in his diary, later found in a German archive, "We sleep with our gas masks next to our beds. Every time a plane flies over, we wonder if this is the end. The gas is a monster, and we are its prisoners." By 1944, the tide of the war had turned against Germany. Allied forces had invaded Normandy in June, and the Red Army was advancing into Poland, less than 100 miles from Dyrenforth. Hitler, desperate to reverse the losses, began pressuring his generals to use the Bund. On August 15, 1944, he held a meeting with General Ambrose and Field Marshal Heinz Guderian, commander of the Eastern Front. "Use the Bund," Hitler shouted, pounding his fist on the table. "Stop the Russians at all costs." Guderian hesitated. He had seen the effects of the Bund during the Minsk accident and knew that even with the M1942 masks, his troops would be at risk. "Mein Führer," he replied, "if we use the Bund, the Allies will retaliate. We have no way of knowing if they have their own nerve gases." Hitler backed down. He still hoped to negotiate a peace deal with the Western Allies, and he feared chemical warfare would destroy any chance of that. But Guderian was not the only one opposed to using the Bund. Many Wehrmacht officers, including Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, argued that using nerve gas was a war crime that would make Germany no better than the Soviet Union, which the Nazis accused of using chemical weapons in Spain, a claim later proven false. Rommel, who had commanded troops in North Africa, wrote in a letter to Hitler, "We fight for a greater Germany, not for the right to murder civilians and soldiers alike with poison. The Bund is a weapon of cowards." Hitler ignored the letter, but he did not order the use of the Bund. As the war entered its final months, the CWK began developing a third nerve gas, Soman, codenamed GD. Soman is 20 times more toxic than the Bund and can penetrate gas masks in seconds by dissolving the rubber seals. It is also faster acting. Death can occur in 2 minutes. But production was slow. The first small batch was made in January 1945, and only 10 tons were produced before the war ended. The CWK also worked on an antidote, testing hundreds of compounds on prisoners at Gross-Rosen concentration camp. The most promising was pralidoxime, a drug that reactivates acetylcholinesterase, but it had to be injected within 60 seconds of exposure, an impossible timeline for most soldiers in combat. The end of the war came faster than the Nazis expected. On January 20th, 1945, Soviet troops crossed the Oder River, 20 miles from Dyrenforth. The SS guards at the facility received orders from Berlin. Destroy all Bund stockpiles, prevent them from falling into Soviet hands. Over 3 days, the guards dumped 12,000 tons of Bund into the Oder River, using pumps to force the liquid through hoses. They then blew up the production buildings with dynamite. The explosion triggered a small Bund leak, and 50 guards were killed by the gas before they could escape. When Soviet troops reached Dyrenfurth on January 25th, they found only smoldering rubble and dead fish floating in the odor. The tabun had seeped into the riverbed, contaminating the water supply for miles downstream. Local villagers reported sickening after drinking the water, and the Soviets had to set up a quarantine zone around the river for 6 months. The Allies first learned of Nazi nerve gas in April 1945, when American troops captured a small CWK laboratory in Heidelberg. They found documents describing tabun and sarin, including production records and test results, but no samples. It was not until May 1945, when they interrogated Schrader and other IG Farben chemists at the Nuremberg trials, that the full scale of the program was revealed. The Allies were horrified. The United States Army Chemical Corps rushed to test tabun on animals at Fort Detrick, Maryland. In one test, a rhesus monkey was exposed to 0.1 milligrams of tabun vapor. It died in 90 seconds. Its lungs collapsed from muscle spasms. The test confirmed what the Nazis had known. Tabun was the deadliest chemical weapon ever created. After the war, the Allies divided up the remaining nerve gas stockpiles. The United States took control of the 500 tons of sarin at Falkenhagen, shipping it to Fort Hood, Texas, for study. The Soviet Union seized what little tabun was left at Dyrenfurth and began producing its own version, codenamed R-33. Both nations used the Nazi research as a blueprint for their own chemical weapons programs. The United States developed VX nerve gas in 1952, which is 100 times more toxic than tabun. The Soviet Union developed Novichok in the 1970s, a nerve gas so deadly it can kill with skin contact. Gerhard Schrader and other IG Farben chemists were arrested for war crimes, but were never tried for their role in creating nerve gas. Instead, they were recruited by the United States and West Germany to work on chemical weapons defense. Schrader joined the West German Ministry of Defense in 1952, helping to develop gas masks and antidotes. He never publicly regretted his work, telling an interviewer in 1985, "I created tabun to protect crops. The Nazis turned it into a weapon. That is not my fault." He died in 1990 at the age of 90, his name largely forgotten by the public but remembered by historians as the father of nerve gas. The workers at Dyrenfurth were not so lucky. Of the 2,500 Ausarbeiter who worked at the facility between 1939 and 1945, only 300 survived the war. Most died from tabun exposure, starvation, or execution. Their names are not recorded in any official history. IG Farben destroyed the worker records in 1945 to cover up its use of slave labor. In 1965, a group of survivors erected a small stone marker at the site of Dyrenfurth, inscribed with the words, "To the unknown workers who died here." It is the only memorial to the people who made Hitler's secret weapon. The legacy of Nazi nerve gas is a dark and enduring one. It paved the way for modern chemical weapons, which have been used in conflicts from the Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988, to the Syrian Civil War, 2011 present. It also led to the Chemical Weapons Convention of 1993, an international treaty that banned production, stockpiling, and use of nerve gases. As of 2024, 193 countries have signed the treaty, and most declared stockpiles have been destroyed. But the fear of nerve gas lingers. For the soldiers who guarded the bunkers at Dyrenfurth, and for the survivors who worked there, The memory of Toulon's deadly power never faded. Private Ernst Weber's death was not an exception. It was a symptom of a weapon that cared nothing for friend or foe. Today, the site of the Dynenfurt facility is a grassy field. The concrete foundations of production buildings are still visible, overgrown with weeds. The soil is still contaminated with trace amounts of debun, and signs warn visitors not to dig or plant crops. The Oder River has recovered, but local fishermen still avoid the stretch near Dynenfurt, remembering the stories of dead fish floating on the surface in 1945. For historians, Dynenfurt is a reminder of how far the Nazis were willing to go to win the war, how they turned science into a tool of destruction, and how they sacrificed thousands of lives for a weapon that never even saw combat. The story of Nazi nerve gas also raises a fundamental question. Can science ever be neutral? Schrader set out to find an insecticide, but his discovery was twisted by a regime that valued power over humanity. The nerve gas that terrified German soldiers was not just a chemical compound. It was a product of society that had lost its moral compass. It showed that even the most brilliant minds can be used for evil, and that the line between innovation and destruction is thinner than we think. On a cold September day in 1944, Private Ernst Weber died because of a shattered vial of Tabun. His death was a tragedy, but it was also a warning. It warned of a weapon so terrible that even its creators feared it. It warned of a regime that would sacrifice its own soldiers for victory. And it warned of the danger of letting fear and hatred drive our pursuit of power. The Nazi nerve gas is gone, but its lesson remains. Some weapons should never be created. Some lines should never be crossed. And some secrets are better left buried.